there. Hold them and walk there. Hold them and walk there. Hold them and walk there. Just hold them and walk there. 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 This on the other than the rejection. Put them on them and the woman. Everybody puts up your hand.
Hi folks, good evening. Oops, just now, let me fix back my volume levels there. Hi folks, good evening. How y'all doing? And yes, even though Friday would have been pretty exciting, lots of thrilling things would have happened Friday. And then of course, Saturday was one of those head turning days. It was like a tennis match, you know, things just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it has been a pretty exciting weekend for us with respect to news and updates. But it's nice to see you all here, nice to have you all here, nice to have everybody here. So, we need to cast our minds back a little bit. Last season, I had done, well, you all know that I would have done a couple things, a couple pieces, a couple investigative pieces. In one of them, where I would have tackled what was going on in the police service, I would have raised questions about the Police Complaints Authority and what the Police Complaints Authority has been doing. And I lobbed a fair amount of criticism in the direction of the Police Complaints Authority. And the director of the Police Complaints Authority reached out to me to say there were things happening within the Police Complaints Authority. And I felt that with respect to balance and fairness for the public to understand and know what exactly has been going on, we should have the Police Complaints Authority and certainly its director on air to have a conversation with us. Just so happens, by the point in time I would have secured the interview with Director West, there would have been all of this excitement about the TTPS and the appointment of a commissioner in the public domain. So we're not here to talk about the commissioner or to talk about any investigations into the commissioner. We are here for you to have a better understanding of how the PCA works and how the PCA is supposed to be serving us as a watchdog organization, because it's meant to be a watchdog. It's meant to function as a tool of accountability. So let me say good evening to everyone again. Hi Roxanne, hi Carl, hi Lisa. Right, yes, nice to see so many of you all here already. Let me bring on my guest. Let me add him to my left-hand side there. Hi, Director West, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. Good evening, Rhoda.
Hi, good evening. So you're on air now, you're live, everybody is seeing you. And as of now, I'm going to be referring to you as David. And please feel free to call me Rhoda.
Sure.
All right. David, good evening. Thanks for spending your Sunday evening with us, because I'm sure there are far more exciting things that you could have been doing on a on a Sunday evening. So thanks for making the time. Thanks for being here. First thing I'm going to ask you, because I'm going to put you on the spot immediately. The Police Complaints Authority. You all are supposed to be celebrating some sort of milestone right now, not so?
10 years.
10 years, right,
10 years.
Good. So you've been around for 10 years, and like many other watchdog authorities or many other entities we have here that are meant to be functioning as a check and balance, I think people don't quite understand what the organization does. So, what exactly does the Police Complaints Authority do, or what is it meant to be doing? I think we have a data problem there.
Good evening.
Right, I think we're back, right?
I think
Good.
there's a little internet connection.
Yeah, there was a little connectivity glitch there, but you're back up and running. I'm hearing you again.
Okay, right. So, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a great Republic Day holiday and a weekend. So, Rhoda, you know, we've been around for 10 years. That is the new incarnation of the PCA. Because before we were, back in 1983, there was an old PCA which had a chairman and a board, which operated totally differently from how this independent PCA operates.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So can you, if you can, because I'm always happy to learn about what we had in the past and how it's being dealt with now. What was the old PCA? What was it doing?
Sure, what it was a chairman and a board made up of civilians and a chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was when they had a complaint against police officers, the complaint would be investigated by police officers.
Mm.
And that investigative complaint would then be sent to the chairman and the board to deliberate on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it went to the chairman, who then made his recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
Quite rightly, it was not satisfactory because it was the police were investigating the police.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It was himself under himself. And they were not, the public and Mr. Manning, deceased Mr. Manning, and Mr. Pandey came together and passed with a special majority the new 2006 Police Complaints Authority Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which had both consensus of both houses, and it had a civilian. What the biggest part was that there were civilians who were investigating police officers. So we have no TTPS police officers in the PCA. It is a civilian oversight body. As you say, it's a watchdog over the police. So any criminal matters that the police get involved in, disciplinary matters that the police get involved in, or police corruption, we can investigate.
How does that work though? Because since you don't have any police officers in the PCA, and so basically you have, as you said, civilians are doing the investigation of police officers. How does it work? How are you in a position to be able to, like, what is the nature of the relationship between yourself at the PCA and with the TTPS? Because there would be times when you'd have to be interviewing police officers. You'd have to be asking them questions. You'd have to be gathering information. So how do you do that?
Well, under the Act, they gave us powers to record statements, powers to get books, records, or any matters from the TTPS or any public body. So our powers are quite wide. And if they don't do that, we can go to court and they can be penalized. So there are sanctions if you do not obey what the PCA has asked you to do. There are sanctions that can be had, which gives us the power to interview police officers, to interview anybody. Actually, anybody. We can interview anybody. Okay, so what happens? So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So somebody, for example, has seen a incident, or somebody has been attacked by a police officer, and he thinks his attack was unprovoked and he's been assaulted. He comes into the PCA, to the complaints department, and he gives a brief outline of what transpired within the altercation. That complaint is then sent across to our legal department on the same day, and our legal department then assesses it to say, yes, it's a matter we can take because it's within remit, it's an assault. That matter is then transferred to our investigations department, and an investigator is assigned to the matter to investigate. And because it's an assault, it's a summary matter, it's within 6 months, we have timelines to investigate that matter within 3 months. So we can then send to the DPP, so he has enough time to go through the file and then recommend a charge, if it so happens, a charge to the police officer.
Now, I want to stick on some of the 4 examples of how you do investigations. So we have had situations in the public domain where persons claim they have been abused by police officers, right? So the police go on an exercise, the police go on an operation. I mean, I don't know all of the correct terminologies for things, but they go out to do things within communities, whether to conduct an investigation, to arrest people, to detain. And of course, you see videos all the time of there being altercations between members of the public and the police. You will also hear reports of shots were fired, the person died, and then there will be a press release from your organization indicating that an investigation has been launched. How does your organization go about getting data, getting information for something like that, when the first set of people that would have been on the scene of something would invariably be the police and, of course, the members of the public that are making the allegations. So how do you go about those investigations?
Right. So let's say, take for example, a police-involved shooting, a fatal shooting. What we do is when we get a report from either the commissioner gives us a report that a fatal shooting has taken place, or the media has been very helpful to us, very good to us, and they send myself or the deputy a WhatsApp message saying a fatal shooting has taken place in an area, Barataria, for example. As soon as possible, we send our investigators to that area to canvass the area for witnesses. Okay, or if they don't wish to talk to us there, we can tell them, you can come into the PCA and give your report. We also look for like CCTV footage, which is very important. We also look, for other investigative matters that we can look at. For example, in the Big Yard shooting, I'll let you know, we went down there the following day, and it was very good that the civilians there gave us a lot of information. And we also look at the TTPS station diary, because after every exercise, the TTPS must write up on the diary what transpired. So we look at what transpired compared to what the civilians say to see if there's any similarities or contradictions. We look at ballistics. There's also the science of the investigation. Okay, we look at the ballistics. We look at the forensic science report. We look at the pathologist report if there's one. So there's a lot of different avenues that we go around and we can see when we are investigating a matter.
So after you've done that and you've pulled together the information, how do you determine?
We also to get the.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying we also get the police officer's report of what transpired.
Okay, so you get all of that information.
If guns are fired.
Right. So you get together all of that information, and I would imagine you're also doing. Do you also go and get eyewitness accounts of things? You go and you interview persons.
Yes.
Right. You pull all of that together. How does it then get from being on your desk at the PCA to becoming a matter that gets into the courts?
Okay. What happens then is that once the investigation has taken place, it goes to our legal department to make sure that the elements of the offense of assault, murder maybe, or grievous bodily harm is made out. It comes to us, the authority, that is Ms. Solomon Bash or myself, to determine whether or not a recommendation should be made to the DPP for the criminal offense or the Commissioner of Police for the disciplinary offense. So then we then said, yes, there's enough evidence for a recommendation, and we make the recommendation for a criminal offense to the DPP and for the Commissioner of Police for a disciplinary offense. For a disciplinary offense, the Commissioner then sets up a tribunal to investigate that matter and deal with that matter. The DPP, he then gets our file. Invariably, there would be a police investigation taking place, and he would look at the two and determine whether or not a criminal charge should be made out. And then the police officers would then go and arrest and charge the officer.
Okay. So when things get, let's say you're looking at a disciplinary matter, when it gets over to the TTPS, do you have, once you sent it over to the TTPS, do you still have any, influence in ensuring that the commissioner disciplines the officer?
Right. Well, I don't know if you know or the public knows, but within the last term of the Parliament, government passed legislation to boost the Police Complaints Authority's powers. So one of the amendments that we pushed for is that the Commissioner of Police and the Director of Public Prosecutions, after 3 months of us making a recommendation to them, we can ask them to account for what has transpired. So we can write the Commissioner of Police and say, what has happened to that matter we sent over to you 3 months ago? And he has to write back and tell us it's before a tribunal, nothing has happened, or whatever the case may be. If nothing has happened, we can then report him to the Police Service Commission and say, Commission, we gave a matter to the Commissioner of Police to for a tribunal matter now. He has done nothing in the matter. And then they will note that for when they have to make a recommendation for his reappointment, his or her reappointment.
What has been your success rate like with respect to disciplinary matters?
Well, before this act only came into pass in January of this year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues we had before was that we did not know what was happening with the matter when we sent it over to the Commissioner of Police.
Mm-hmm.
It's only if we asked and he did not have to, there was no force of law for him to respond,
mm-hmm.
what is happening. But I can tell you what has happened is that we have been having success. Well, police tribunals before if we our officers and he did not have to, there was no force of law for him to respond.
Mm-hmm. What was going on there? Happening? Okay.
I don't know.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. So what is happening is that we have been getting the police officers before the tribunal,
mm-hmm.
and our investigators have been given evidence in the tribunals. So we know matters are happening.
Mm-hmm.
They are not happening as fast as we would like them to happen, but they are happening. Because I think the issue is the backlog on the TTPS side when having a tribunal.
What would make those
and that kind of stuff.
So are you saying what would make those matters happen faster within the TTPS? Like what exactly is the causing the bottleneck?
I think it is that, well,
is it a lack of will? Is it a lack of will?
No, I don't think it's a lack of will. I think it's a lack of, talking to the former commissioner, he was saying that to get a proper quorum, he was looking to get ex-magistrates to come on board and persons or ex-judges to sit for a month and hear tribunals.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he had an issue with funding, and so I'm not sure what exactly transpired.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an issue that we have flagged, and with this new legislation now, we can now hold the commissioner accountable to what is happening once we make a recommendation.
Explain to me how exactly the legislation allows you to hold the commissioner accountable. And I'm saying that given the fact that I'm aware that the commissioner for the most part is answerable to the Police Service Commission. So I want to understand, how does the Police Complaints Authority get to also hold the police commissioner to account?
Right, because Rhoda, what happens is that after 3 months, we make a recommendation to the Commissioner of Police that for disciplinary action against Officer X in January, of 2021, for example. By March, April, if we do not hear anything back from the Commissioner, we can write the Commissioner under Section 44 now of our Act, where it mandates that he shall give us a report on the matter. So I write him and he writes me back, says nothing was done. We're in the process of getting a quorum. The matter is halfway done. The matter is finished. I don't like the answer.
Who sits on those okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, retired officers sit on the tribunal, officers of senior rank to the person being investigated.
Okay.
If I don't like the answer the commissioner gives me, I can write the commissioner has not acted on this matter. And that will then go against a mark against his performance.
Okay. And when you say it goes as a mark against his performance, it means that this is something that ought to come up in his appraisal by the Police Service Commission.
And I would expect so. Because they would ask him, how is your disciplinary process going? And then he would say, well, we did 10 matters, we did 5 matters, we did 2 matters. And then the commissioner would then say, well, what about this matter from the PCA that you haven't done? And report it, and then he would have to account for why nothing was done, or what is the issue with the matter.
Okay. then it begs the question, who do you have to account to? Who are the persons that get to hold you accountable?
I account towards Parliament. Every
Okay.
year, I have an annual report that we lay in Parliament, and we also appear before the Joint Select Committee of Parliament on National Security, and they ask us questions, and we respond. So we are held accountable to them.
Okay. And because I've looked at some of the joint select committees, I've actually seen at least one or two that you have been before. So let me ask this: there are certain you will get reports on a regular basis. So do you have? I should ask: do you have any of your statistics close to you?
I do. I have some. Yes, I do.
Okay. So then let me ask: what's the most recent year of statistics that you've got?
Okay. 2019, 2020, our annual report.
All right.
Okay?
So give me a sense of how many reports you got for the 2019 to 2020 period.
Okay, we had 721 what we call initial reports. So 721 people made a report to the PCA during that period. That's August to September. Out of that, though, only 396 fell within remit.
Right.
We could have, okay? And within the year of 2019, 2020, we completed 408 matters.
So 721 initial reports came in, 396 fell in remit, and you say 408
matters were completed. Now that would be matters from other years, previous years gone by. Okay? Out of those 408 matters, okay, we had 8 matters going to the DPP, 52 matters going to the Commissioner of Police, 13 matters fell within both criminal and civil, and disciplinary, sorry. So they went to the COP and the DPP, and we sent 8 pieces of advice to the Commissioner of Police.
Right. So 408 completed investigations. Of that, 8 go to DPP, 52 to the Commissioner of Police, and 13 there that get split up between the Commissioner of Police and the DPP. With respect to those completed matters and the number of things that actually went forward to either the DPP or the Commissioner of Police for prosecution or for disciplinary issues, the things that fall in between the cracks, or the other things that don't go forward to the DPP and the COP that were completed, they don't go forward to them. Why? Because of not enough evidence, nothing was found. What are the reasons?
Correct, Rhoda. What happens is that they are closed for many reasons. For example, sometimes people start a complaint, but then they make up with the police officer and say, well, we're now talking about it, and he said sorry, so I want to close the complaint. Some of them just want to discontinue. Some matters, there's not enough evidence. Of course, we operate on a prima facie case. There must be at least some evidence to go forward. And some of the matters there was just no evidence, and we just couldn't find that there was a case for the police, against the police.
And are persons told these things? And the reason that I'm asking is, I will hear persons will come and they will say to me, and again, I am not in a position to follow up on the things that they are saying. I can't come into the PCA. At least I'm not aware that I can come into the PCA and check
the public.
I know I could come into the PCA and make a report, but what I don't know is, can I come into the PCA and check up on people's files? If that is the case, you'll see me tomorrow morning. Right. But so persons will say to me, I made a report to the PCA and nothing has happened. I can't necessarily check up on that. How can I, or can anyone, so let's say I made a report to you, how do I check up on where my file is, or how do I get feedback on what is going on with my investigation? And as a third add-on question, are persons told, or persons kept abreast of what is going on with their investigation?
Once your complaint is within remit, you are assigned an investigator, and you are given his PCA mobile number.
Right.
So you can call him anytime to find out about your matter, the progress of your matter, and he should answer you. He or she should answer you.
Mm-hmm.
Once a matter is completed, they are sent an email or they're given a letter saying your matter is closed, and we give reasons why your matter was closed. So they should know about, why the matter was closed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, many times people move and they don't inform us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they live in addresses where TT Post doesn't want to go because it's so-called hotspot area and they don't get mail. What we do is we send out all matters via track pack. So if it is not delivered, we then get it back from us, and we keep it there. And we try to locate them, but if we can't, of course, we can't locate them. But the policy is that they are informed either your matter has gone forward to the DPP or the Commissioner of Police, or it's been closed because of whatever reasons, it's been closed.
Okay. So then what's your human resource situation like at the PCA? How many persons do you have working there? What's the organization structure like, I guess?
Okay, sure. Well, we have 24 we have 24 PCA investigators.
Right.
There are 6 teams of 4 investigators each.
Mm-hmm.
We have 13 legal persons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
About 60 persons employed within the TTPS. We have accounts, we have finance accounts, we have administrative department, we have a communications department,
Mm-hmm.
we have a registry, we have drivers, and we have people that deliver letters. So it's quite a comprehensive organization. I would say in the coming year, once we get our new budget,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to increase staff, mainly in terms of the registry, because I could talk later on how we are improving the efficiency of the complaint system.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to increase investigators and increase also legal officers.
So let's talk about...
So that's what I'm looking at in initial stages.
Okay, so let's talk about the investigators, and then we'll talk about legal, and then we'll talk about the registry. You say you have 24 investigators and then 6 teams. Why 6 teams? Like, how are they grouped?
Well, there's no special reason.
So it's not like
experience.
it's not like finance and criminal, and because I was just wondering if they were grouped in terms of categories of investigations. That's what I was wondering.
No, it's the most most experienced investigators, or what we call team leads.
Okay.
And then we have investigators 1 and 2 underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
So we split up between team leads, investigators 1 and investigators 2, IO1 and IO2
Right.
each team.
Right.
So we try to make each team, not one team stronger than the other team. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So
I do.
We don't have all, medium investigators in the other team.
Okay. So how many more investigators do you need? Because maybe 24 is not enough. So how many? For you? What would be optimal in terms of the number of investigators?
I think about 13 would be fine.
Okay. So you need about
13.
6. So you need about 6 more investigators.
6. Yes.
Okay. And what are the requirements? What qualifications do these persons have to come with to be an investigator?
Before, we used to ask for some experience in investigations.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have done now is that we are trying to move away and trying to get more people who just have that knack, or who have that, we think have that feel for investigations, and
Mm-hmm.
we train them, because we want to train them, and then we train them, and then they go out on a probationary period with the senior investigators, and they and they start working. We have about 2 or 3 persons like that now, and they're working out pretty well.
So you're saying that I should apply to work for the PCA? Is that it?
You can apply, yes.
So how much, as you're saying that, the pandemic would have hit recently, it would have hit last year. How much more, how are you working more virtually now? Are your investigators still going out and doing face-to-face investigations? And also, given that we are in an era where there is a lot that is happening online, there's a lot more cyber crime that is taking place now. How are you adjusting to all of that?
Well, COVID made us, I guess, everybody rethink how they do their business or how they do their work, how they do their investigations. And what we decided to do was have more social media in terms of, complaints coming in.
Mm-hmm.
We have an app. I don't know if you know, we have a police.
I do. I have the app on my phone actually.
Right. So we have the app. We have our website, which is an interactive website.
Mm-hmm.
We have our email, Facebook, and now we have Instagram. So we are trying to be out there to capture the biggest, largest population who have complaints, so no one is left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, Rhoda, during the pandemic, our complaints did not reduce. They didn't increase, but we held steady, and people were able to make complaints to us via those digital means, and we were able to investigate them. Now, our investigators very courageously, some of them, the majority went out, observing all the protocols, and were able to interview witnesses, or they were able to get station diary extracts, or whatever they needed to do to get the investigation done. Now, many times, unfortunately, the police stations were in quarantine because the police service were affected very badly by the amount of COVID.
So that must have impacted on you, right?
Yes, it did slow down investigations. But what the TTPS did, to their credit, was you were able to email that division to get the information you wanted. So you could email them the questions and they would respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we were able to have some kind of communication with the police TTPS. If we wanted a station diary extract, they would photocopy that page we wanted and they would send it to us.
Right.
So it was working. Of course, now with the pandemic and it's easing up now, and more people vaccinated, we are now starting to speed up investigations. But we were able to continue with our investigations during the pandemic.
So there was a more digital approach during the height of everything. Before there were vaccines available, there would have been a more digital approach to things.
That's correct, yes.
Do you think that there's a possibility to continue doing things more digitally?
Well, I know my investigators would like to do that.
No, I'm not necessarily saying doing it remotely or doing it virtually, but to be able to improve how quickly you get information. Because I feel if you're in your building, you are on the waterfront, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, yes.
Right. So if you're in your building, something takes place, something occurs. And let's say it occurs, far-flung area, Toko, Manzanilla, wherever, right? Rusilak, wherever it is. And the police station there has the diary. Instead of you having to go down to them, can they not do scans and send the scans to you?
Yes, they can, but if the scanner is working, if the photocopier is working, and many times, we hear that the photocopier machine is down or the scanning machine is down, etc., etc. So unfortunately, we prefer to go down and get it ourselves.
Okay, so when your investigators go, they will do the scanning themselves then.
Yeah, and what we did also too, Rhoda, we did purchase phones for our investigators, and they have a scanning app on their phone that they can scan on their phone, so they can, once they're there, can get it.
So, David, when you call these police stations and they tell you that the printer and the scanner are not working, but the police officers themselves have cell phones, their cell phones can't scan either. Do they say to you that they're unable to scan a document and send it to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's unacceptable. And I'm not, that is unacceptable. In 2021, that's unacceptable. I think it's ridiculous that your officers, your personnel will have to go all that way to be able to get something that can be digitally transferred. Because right now, if I need to send you a document, I'm not leaving where I am to get to your house to be able to send it. I will just scan it with whichever device I have, whether it is my phone or the scanner in my house, and I send it to you. And this leads me to asking this question. How much pushback and how much of a struggle and how much of a challenge is it really for you to get information from the TTPS when you have to do investigations?
I'll be honest, Rhoda. It depends on the station.
Okay.
Now, the former commissioner did a departmental order saying that generally saying that once the PCA comes to you for information, hand it over. There's no need for it to go to the divisional commander and the head to approve it, because before that we were getting all that kind of pushback. Okay.
So how were they using the bureaucracy? Give me a sense. Help me to understand, how was the bureaucracy being used against you? What were the things that were happening?
Well, before, right, what would happen is our officers would go to the police station with our PCA. We have an ID card. They would say they're not accepting that. We don't know you work at the PCA. So that was the first stumbling block.
Right.
If we get into the door, they will say the diary is not here. Right? Or somebody else took the diary. So that's the second stumbling block. Next stumbling block is that you cannot just copy the diary. We need to get approval from higher up. And higher up could be the divisional commander, the ACP, the DCP, the commissioner. So it was many stumbling blocks we encountered. However, former Commissioner Guy Griffith, he did implement, as I said, the departmental order, which said that once the PCA comes there, you have to give them the documents once it's available. So that has smoothed out quite a lot of the bureaucracy. It still happens, Rhoda. It still happens. Some officers are just adamant that they're just trying to make our lives difficult. But they are in a minority.
Okay.
And even now with Acting Commissioner Jacob, he has also agreed with us and also is assisting us to get documents.
Right, because
information.
I know within the last couple of weeks, since there's been shifts and changes with commissioners and the police service, there's a new acting commissioner. Has the transition from former commissioner to the current commissioner, has the working relationship continued to be a smooth working relationship between the PCA and the police service, sorry?
Rhoda, a resounding yes.
Okay.
At all the meetings, the former commissioner had, the now acting commissioner Jacobs with on all PCA meetings, and so he understands what we want, and he has been very forthcoming. And he has given us documents and information that we need. He answers his phone.
Right. How often?
Okay.
which is good. The answering of telephones, that's a very important thing. So how often does the PCA and the TTPS meet?
Well, at the time, when the former commissioner first came in, I would say we met every 2 or 3 months, because there were a lot of things we wanted to get done. But now that we more or less, it's more WhatsApp or call on the phone to get things done now. Because with Jacob, acting commissioner Mr. Jacob, and the former commissioner, the relationship has improved. And a lot of the police officers also see an agreement with us why we are helping them, and that we are not there to prosecute them, but we are there to get the truth and find the justice in the matter.
Right.
So the police service, I must say, the police service has evolved, it has changed, and they are comfortable with the PCA. Of course, some are not. Some are still have blocks, but the majority are assisting the PCA.
What about the Professional Standards Bureau? What's the nature of your relationship with the Professional Standards Bureau? Do the two organizations work closely with each other? Are you meant to work closely with each other, or you just work independently of each other when an investigation has to take place?
Generally speaking, we work independently when an investigation has to take place. But there are times where we communicate, and I do ask them for information, and they send it, and they vice versa, if I think it's reasonable to give out the information.
Okay.
But they understand. You see, now the PSB understands their role. Also to the PCD, the Police Complaints Division, they understand their role, and we know what our role is. So we are working together. I know for the public, it is confusing.
Yes, it is. For me, and I mean, people tend to think that I know everything, and I will be the first person to say I am not absolutely clear on the nature of the relationship between the PCA, the PCD, and between those three organizations. I'm also not quite clear on when you earlier on you'd said that you can send things forward for a disciplinary recommendation, to the Commissioner of Police. Do you when you send that to the Commissioner of Police, when you send that forward, do you get to actually weigh in on how the person should be disciplined, or do you just get to say that the person should be disciplined?
Well, we make recommendations on the offences that we have found out, for example, discreditable conduct, neglect of duty, etc. But we don't get involved in the actual tribunal, and we don't what disciplinary offences they should face. We just make our recommendations, and because that's a separate, and they're an independent body, like we are an independent body.
Okay.
We don't go out of our mandate. Okay, we are a statutory body, we are bound by the statute, and we don't cross that line.
All right. Well, then let me walk me back a bit and get me to understand. How do you work in tandem with the PSB and with the PCD? And let me just remind the audience, we're speaking to David West, Police Complaints Authority Director. The PSB is the Professional Standards Bureau that is it's a division within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And is the Police Complaints Division part of the police service as well?
It is, yes.
Right.
It's another division.
Right. So that's another division. So how do those three entities, two housed within the TTPS and one that is independent of the TTPS, how do those three things work?
Okay. The PCA is an independent civilian oversight board. And the PCD are units within the police service. They are housed by police officers. The PSB looks at criminal matters, so to murder, larceny, theft, assault, and battery. The PCD looks at disciplinary offences, neglect of duty, disciplinary conduct, etc. If a member of the public has an issue with a police officer, they can go to the PSB or the PCD, or they can go to the PCA, because we are an independent body. Sometimes they don't trust the police and they come by us, or they may want to go by the Police Complaints Division because they think that's where they should go. So it all depends on how comfortable the civilian feels and where he thinks he will get the best justice.
Okay.
So I know it is confusing, and to make matters worse, the new act did recommend the repeal of the Police Complaints Division, because we are the sole body to deal with oversight of the police. But then again, Rhoda, you see, the police, a criminal offence is still a criminal offence, even though it's committed by a police officer. The police still have a duty to investigate that.
Right. So then, for me, David, that's where it gets ticklish every single time, right? Because you can investigate it, yes, but at the same time, the police has to investigate it as well. Do you ever have situations where your investigations get thwarted or the investigations get muddied because you have to be reliant on the police to investigate itself?
There are times where, it's not the best of situations. Okay, but again, now the investigator who's investigating the matter does give over the investigative file to us, because we ask for the file. We want to make sure that they have done all they did in the matter. Because apart from our duty of investigation, we could also monitor and audit a police file. So there are some examples when it's not really in our best interest, or it's not, for example, sometimes some fatal shootings where there's not a conflict. Okay, or there's not a witness saying, well, no, it was not fatal police shooting. For example, they may say, well, yes, he did have a firearm and he shot at the police. We would monitor, audit that investigation.
Okay.
So I mean, it depends, but
let me ask I mean, and if you can't answer it, you can't answer it, right? The Mova shooting that would have taken place last year, that would have involved civilians. It would have involved the TTPS, and the majority of the population found out about the shooting through CCTV video, right? That would have been circulating.
Yes.
The PCA has to investigate, but the way I see it, the PSB would have also had to investigate the matter. Well, the TTPS had to investigate the matter, right? Because 3 murders would have taken place.
Correct.
Right. So how do the two entities there, the PCA and the TTPS, how do you interact with each other? How do you work alongside each other on a triple murder like that, wherein is the TTPS that would have been seen holding the guns?
Well, in that matter, we did not work along with the TTPS in that matter, because we had other evidence, and I'll leave it as that. We had other evidence that the TTPS did not have. And that matter has gone to the DPP, and we have recommended criminal charges. So it's in the DPP's department.
So you would have, in a case like that, you would have gathered evidence independent of the TTPS.
That is correct.
Okay. And if you can share, what was it like working alongside the TTPS on an investigation like that? If you had to gauge it on a scale of 1 to 10, was it getting what kind of point system it would have gotten in terms of smoothness of interaction?
Sorry, you're talking about the Mova shooting?
Yes, the Mova shooting, that investigation, because you would have had to work alongside the TTPS. You would have at some point in time have to interface with them to get information and evidence, I would imagine. So how smooth a process was it?
I prefer...
No comment is an answer. No comment is an answer. Eh? No comment is an answer.
Yeah, I prefer not to answer that question, but I would say that all's well that ends well, because we got the independent evidence that has gone to the DPP.
Okay, all right. And then, so is it similar in a situation like the deaths of Morris and Belcon, the two gentlemen that would have died in police custody? How do you go about handling something as technical as that?
Well, that was a very technical and very complex investigation that our investigators handled very well, and
we're having a little bit of technical difficulty again because you're slowing down. So just give me a second, and as soon as you're back in, I'm going to ask you the question again, because I want you to clarify for us. So the Morris and Belcon case, how was that handled, David? You're back on. You're back on. I'm seeing you moving around.
Hello?
Fine. Yeah, you're back on. You're back. Are you hearing me yet?
Hello.
I'm seeing you. We're seeing you. We're all seeing you. You're there, you know. Tell me when you start hearing me again. So for those of you that are just joining us or only recently joined us, we have with us the PCA director, David West. David, are you hearing me again yet? Are you hearing me fine yet or no? Just let me know if you're hearing me. No? Not hearing me? Yes, no. Let me just let him know that I'm hearing him fine. I'm going to send him a WhatsApp message.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Rhoda. I'm not hearing you.
Okay, you know what? Let me send you another. Let me kick you out the room and let you come back in. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, y'all, sorry about a little technical difficulty there. It happens sometimes. All right, this should work. This should bring us back on. Right, this should work. We should be back on stream now. Tell me if you're hearing me, David.
Right. Yes. We're back.
Right, good.
I'm
Right.
clear. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Good. No worries at all. No worries at all. So, the Morris and Belcon cases. If you can, as best as you can, without putting yourself in jeopardy, and tomorrow morning, the Parliament or maybe the President had to call you and ask you to tender your resignation. If you can, give us a little insight into how that investigation would have gone on your end.
Well, as I was saying, it was a very complex investigation, and it was led by, not led, but as I said, we have different teams. So the deputy director has 3 teams, and I have 3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Third team dealt with the investigation into that matter.
Okay.
So I don't know the exact details of the matter, but I know that the investigators would have done an extremely good job, gotten statements, and other evidence, and other scientific evidence.
Right.
I could tell you that both the TTPS and us, we had a little wait with the postmortem autopsy report. That took a little while to get, but we have it and it is submitted in the file. And I could say that soon that we would be making a press release on that matter soon.
Okay.
Because it's almost completed.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. So I want to get back now. We had started talking about how you want to populate the PCA. You said you had 6 teams, or is it 6 teams of investigators, right? So 6 teams with 4 investigators.
6 teams of 4 investigators.
Right,
each,
6 teams of 4 investigators each. You said you also wanted to improve the legal department and the registry. What do you want to see be done differently with the legal department and the registry?
Okay, Rhoda, quite excitingly, because the COVID actually set us back, but we have engaged a consultant to assist in making our registry and our complaint system more efficient. Okay, and it's very exciting. I think registry is listening and they're very happy, because when I first came in, this is what we discussed. This is back my first appointment. But
what was registry like when you came in versus what you're planning to do now?
Well, registry is very labor intensive. I think it's the best word to say. They had to stamp documents and check everything, and of course, all the closed files went to them. All the files went to them, and so what we have now, if we have a computerized system where we log on each action we do in the file, so the investigators know and the legal department knows and registry knows what's happening with the file, so we can track that file. So what this consultant is doing is making it more efficient and making the investigator more accountable to what he has done, making the legal department accountable to what they do, and even the authority, myself, when we get the file, we don't dilly-dally on it. So it's to make it more accountable to everybody, and it's a more efficient and swifter system. Okay, so with that, we would need to have we need to employ some persons to like data and input to put in the data on the file into the computer, into the system, to make it to populate the system. So then legal will know what's on it, and so the investigators. So that's a very exciting project, and I hope it should finish by Christmas, where we are very modern and it's up to date and more efficient.
Okay.
So that's what we want to do.
So recently you would have put out a press release about an investigation where you have had to launch an investigation into the TTPS. So in a situation like that, and it would have been an investigation at the highest level of the TTPS, with an investigation like that, what checks and balances do you put in place at the PCA to be able to conduct an investigation that is as sensitive as that, as I guess with as much integrity and as much transparency as possible? What gets put in place so that way the population can be assured that the investigation is a fair and balanced investigation?
Okay, well, what I could say for that, and I don't want to give out what we do, but it is handled with as less people as possible have access to that file.
Right.
So, for example, that file would not go up on the computer system.
Okay.
It will be passed with only in a small set of people who have access, who have sight of that file. Okay. So I mean, all matters are confidential anyway in the PCA, and I wouldn't want to give out everything we do. So because people might want to hack in or want to try to find out what we do, but I could assure you that it's treated with the utmost confidence.
Right.
And integrity.
I get that, but I mean, I'm sure you are well aware that the public thinks that there is a relationship, as it were, between yourself and the former commissioner as a result of that witness tampering case. So in a situation like that, where there would have been those public stories, and you would have had for the last 3 years a public relationship where you would have had to figure out how to work with each other, how to have both organizations working alongside each other, it has to be a strange space to be in, where somebody that was once your colleague, in a sense, because you're both at the head of organizations, you're now in this situation of having to be part of an investigation. So if that, for example, is too sticky for you, you have to work with the DPP's office, don't you? You have to work with the DPP's office. What if tomorrow something happened with DPP Gaspard and you're asked to investigate? How do you go about ensuring that investigation meets the most rigorous standards?
Okay, well, first of all, with regarding the former commissioner, and for that matter, we have a policy that all matters involving him, if at all, the deputy director heads that investigation. So her investigators would do it, her legal team would look at it, and then she would sign off on the recommendation. I wouldn't have anything to do at all with the matter.
Right.
When we met at the TTPS building, it would be Mr. Jacob and his team, and the former commissioner's team, and it would be me and my team. We never met in secret, or we never met, together with nobody else. I mean,
no dark corners, no secret meetings in dark corners.
No, but the point is that the public have to understand that I have my integrity, and I hold it dear to me, and whatever happens with that matter, but I'm here to do my job, and I'm doing my job to the best of my ability, and I don't want, and I know people always say that, but there's no evidence, I don't understand how people think that. Why? He had his role was totally different in the case than my role. You understand?
David, I think it's
So,
because I don't think, I mean, I have no recollection. I don't know if this has taken place or not, but I'm not sure anybody has ever interviewed you publicly about that whole investigation from back in 2015. Have you ever been publicly interviewed about it?
no, well, I wouldn't be, because that is a court case now.
Right, and it's
So I would not, so
it's
we can't
under
discuss
in
it.
yes, it's before the court, so I don't think it's ever
Right.
been discussed. But people dance around the issue all the time, and it's it's there. It's something people tiptoe around, and I don't feel that it should be tiptoed around. When I say I don't feel it should be tiptoed around. I think we ought to be able to ask you, as the director of the PCA, how do you ensure that things are done in a particular way, given the fact that there appears to be a past, a relationship, and it's not even just appears to be, as two persons who would have been, you are at the helm of the PCA, the former commissioner would have been at the helm of the TTPS. You have to work alongside each other. You have to work with each other. So
Yeah, but there are boundaries to work within.
right.
If it is that I need information from him, that is all it's going is. It's only going information about what he has done as a former commissioner, or what I am doing as the PCA director. It has
Right.
nothing to do with that case. That case, he has said all the documents are in, all the statements have been signed. They've gone to DDP. He has laid a charge. All right, so there's nothing that could be said now that could change it or done, because it'll be a prior inconsistent statement. There'll be new evidence, and it'll you know what I mean. So
I got you. I get you.
So we don't. That has never been discussed, and will never be discussed for me.
Okay.
You know,
And and you have checks and balances for the investigations.
exactly.
Right.
Yes. It is done by the deputy director. I don't sign off on it. She signs off on it.
Okay. All right. One of the things I think the public is also not clear on, or I certainly only found out recently, you can do investigations that aren't just based on persons complaining about the TTPS. It could be anything that is involving a police officer. So it doesn't have to be
Yes.
the public complaining about the police.
No, we can initiate under Section 26 of our Act. We can initiate a complaint against the TTPS once it falls within remit, of course.
Right. And what doesn't fall within remit, or rather, or maybe what falls within remit?
Okay, well, as I said before, if the officer commits a criminal offense, so that is, I said, larceny, murder, manslaughter, reckless driving, etc. Police corruption falls within, for example, taking a bribe, whatever it is. That also falls. And also to the disciplinary offenses, they have, under the regulation, Section 150 of the Police Service Act, the regulation, they have a list of disciplinary offenses that we can look into: neglect of duty, discreditable conduct, and so forth.
Okay. And so if I felt I was being harassed by a police officer,
Well, harassment, that is a criminal offense.
is virtual harassment a criminal offense here yet? Like if the police officer, coming after me on social media, or, sliding into my inbox and saying inappropriate things, is that yet is that yet a crime?
Well, I mean, what I will have to do is look at my legal department and take their advice. But but we will look at it and whether or not it is actually a crime. I mean, I don't want to say right now if it's a crime or not, because
Gotcha.
I haven't done research.
Yeah.
But
So
that would be, you look at it and determine whether or not it falls within a complaint.
So 10 years down the line, David, I think you've been one of the longest serving directors of the PCA, not so?
Yes.
Right. And no, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not trying to say that you're old or anything like that. I'm just saying 10 years down the line, the PCA has been around for 10 years, and you have been one of the longest serving deputy directors. Where do you want to see the PCA heading towards? Like, what are your plans for the PCA?
Right. You want to start again? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I saw that
good.
that it's stuck. I said, so the PCA is celebrating 10 years this year. You've been there for a lot of those 10 years.
7.
You've been there for a lot of those 10 years, David. Because I had to struggle today. I was like, who was the director before him? And I remembered it was Justice Lucky, right?
Correct. That's
Right, good. So it was Justice Lucky that was there before you. Then you came in and you've been there. I know you have done at least two appointments as director of the PCA. Where do you see the PCA going? What do you want to see happen to the PCA? So let's say you have 3 more years, all right? They put you back for 3 more years as director of the PCA. What do you want to see happen in the next 3 years?
Okay. I see the PCA as an integral part of the criminal justice system. Okay, and I want to be able to manage that process, and I want to make a difference in that. I want people to come to the PCA and feel that they can get justice, and whether or not we make a recommendation or not, they are satisfied that we have done the best investigation we can do. That is what I would love and hope that people can understand, that when we do an investigation, that is what we are trying to do. Because as I said, we are independent. We hear your complaint, but of course there are always 2 sides of a story, sometimes 3. And although your matter has been closed, we have done the best investigation possible. Rhoda, sometimes I even we open an investigation that has been closed. If I get new evidence, I reopen the investigation and I ask the investigator to check this, because I want to make sure at the end of the day, the client, the public, feels satisfied that they have gotten the best from the PCA. And now, many times, they may not feel so, but I have spoken to them and we have tried to pacify many complainants. Okay. As I said, with the case management system coming in place with the consultant, I want to modernize. And I'm so happy that the app has taken on. I want to digitize the PCA. So virtual meetings are more regular. We can talk to complainants virtually. We have access. We have purchased phones where the investigator has WhatsApp. They have video conferencing. They have Wi-Fi. So we are in touch. We're on the ground. I want to make sure that so we know what's going on, so people can understand that we are trying to do the best. We are coming to them instead of them coming to us. We will come to them. We have outreach programs that we had before, and I'm so excited that we are actually working with Living Waters community for the Spanish community. With the human trafficking and a lot of violence is attracted to the Spanish-speaking community by the TTPS, unfortunately, because for whatever reason they are a vulnerable sector in society. I want to also to have our statistician look at trends within the police service. Trends, what I mean is that sometimes a batch number, for example, 1800s, they may be more. We find that they are coming before us quite often with complaints. Too many complaints are coming from the 1800 system. Now, actually, it was a former officer who pointed that out to me. That said, listen, why don't you look at that, and so they can call them back in for retraining, which I thought was excellent. And that is how the cooperation with the TTPS is supposed to work, where it's not only PCA, but the TTPS can give us advice or can give us suggestions how we can work together to have a better police service. And that is what we, the PCA, are about, for us to be able to trust with the TTPS. Also, too, many times a division or a unit may have more complaints than another unit or division, like IATF, for example. They have a lot of complaints.
Right. This is interagency task force, right?
Yes.
When
yes.
When the Mover 3 thing took place last year, somebody messaged me, somebody from the TTPS actually messaged me and said, do a search and see how often IATF comes up. And I did a search and saw how often IATF as a division was coming up, being linked to extrajudicial killings. So I'm glad that you raised that. as the director of the PCA, are you in a position to make a recommendation to say something has to be done within a particular division so that the number of
Yes.
extra... Okay.
Yes, and that is where our part of our functions to give advice to the TTPS regarding that, and they should come in for more retraining.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where I see us going, and you know, I think, you know, PCA has made positive steps, but I want to make more strides further on within the time of my instrument, my contract.
How much longer do
You
you
know,
want to
so-
stay at the PCA for? I mean, you've been there 7 years.
I have 3 more years. I have
Right.
3 more years.
Do you
which
want- Do you want...
I'm
is,
excited.
mhm. Is the PCA a good fit for you?
I think it is. With my criminal law experience working in DPP's department, and you know, I understand it, and I like law enforcement. I also, you know, so I like the job. It's never a dull day, Rudy. It's always something. It's always exciting. Something's always happening. It's dynamic. It's always moving, and we have to move along with it. And I have a great team behind me. You know, with the investigators, the legal, administrative, everybody, finance. You know, I mean, for example, if I want to, you know, everybody pulls together. And what I like about, honestly speaking,
Yeah.
when I came into the PCA, Justice Lucky and Mr. Master Doyle had put together a great team of people. And what is also interesting or good is that the independence of the PCA. You see, we're having their own budget is very important. I don't have to go to a PS to get approval to spend money or whatever it is, but I'm accountable to Parliament for spending my money, right?
Yeah, I know you have to
So-
put those reports in on an annual basis.
And we are audited every year by
By the Auditor General, yeah.
So it's not a case of me, you know, any kind of, you've never heard the PCA have gone over budget and spent X amount of million or have been lost or whatever it is. But so the independence and, you know, spending your money wisely and prudently is important. And that is why the PCA is unique in all the other government departments. So in that we have our own budget, and we have the human resource, the capital to all move, and we're thinking the same thing. I mean, we had during the pandemic, you know, our legal team and our investigators, everybody came in once or twice a week to do what they had to do to get things done, and it was great. There was a feeling of, yes, these people really want to make sure that not only complainants get their just deserved, but the PCA continue to evolve, continue to move on. You know, we weren't stagnant. We didn't stay home and just do nothing. You know, we did work, and I'm very happy. So yes, I mean, the PCA is a good fit for me. I enjoy it. You know, as I said, the independence is great, and the good thing is that, you know, I might get in trouble for this, but you know, politicians don't tell you anything. They don't get involved in your work
Okay.
because they can't.
Right.
Right. And
Because
I
of
must say that I
how
have
because
had
of
no
how you are
interference.
constituted, right? Because it's the
Correct.
president who appoints you, but she has to get she has to discuss things with the prime minister and the opposition leader. So they both have to weigh in on whether you can be there.
Yes.
Right.
So I mean, so this is my second term, and so quite happily, both Dr. Rowley and Ms. Pasabi Sessa agreed to my nomination, and the president appointed me. So the good thing is that, you know, you don't get this political interference.
Right.
Okay, you are independent, and they respect that. And I must say, I have never had any politician tell me I must investigate this or I must not investigate that. I have never ever had any interference whatsoever in carrying out the functions of the PCA.
So, David, given this lengthy experience that you've had with the PCA, your legal background, and all of the investigative work that you've done in the last 7 years, you wouldn't consider applying to be Commissioner of Police?
No, thank you. No, thank you. I have no intention.
I'm teasing and pulling your leg. I was, just checking to see if you would be interested in fixing that organization.
I'm quite happy where I am. Quite
Okay.
happy.
All
I'm a
right.
simple fella. I'm very simple. Quite happy.
Well, on that note, let me thank you for taking the time off on your Sunday evening to spend this hour with us. Well, actually, an hour and 15 minutes talking about the
Yeah.
PCA. And thank you
very much for having me.
No, it was good fun. It was good fun. I wasn't sure how much you would have really let me know about PCA investigations, but I felt I learned more. I learned more than I thought I was going to learn about PCA investigations.
Rhoda, there's always room for improvement, and I want to improve. So people can be rest assured they don't have a director who wants to sit down and do nothing. I always want to improve. I want to learn more. I read up on how other independent authorities carry out investigations, how they do their work. So I'm not sitting at my desk doing nothing. I'm trying to improve the organization and our investigations to the best of my ability.
All right.
And that's the honest truth.
Well, David, we will bring you back, because, the PCA is always in the news. There's always stuff going on. There are always investigations. So we will have you back at some point in time. Maybe, if not before the end of the year, certainly the start of 2022.
Sure. I would look forward to it, Rhoda.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, you too.
So that was Director of the Police Complaints Authority, Mr. David West, Attorney David West. So I want to say, before I log off, belated birthday greetings to Debbie Kalla, because I know Debbie had a hot birthday yesterday. Is yesterday or day before yesterday? And to say to you guys, I will see you later on in the week. I will see you on Friday. I cannot guarantee Wednesday. If I'm having a live on Wednesday, I will let you know. But definitely, we will see each other on Friday. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Yeah?
Tell them I'm feeling good. Like a new machine.
Kind of loud, boy.
Like
Let me lower this a little bit. You all take
Fresh
care.
on the scene. I'm in the party to the full extreme.